So tonight we won't have to put up with birds. Instead, with cats. We'll have birds instead.
Sounds good. Looks like we're broadcasting live. I got the message.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Sandy, and I'm with Marty Edwards tonight. And you're watching Apple World Today, which is, Apple World Today TV, AWT TV. It's been a long evening. It's been a long week. But we're here tonight. I'm actually sitting outside tonight with my new MacBook Pro. I love this little thing. It's surprisingly good. You know, I kind of missed it. But we got a heck of a show for you tonight. We're going to start off with just a little wrap up of some of the news that's occurred during the past week since we last met. And then Marty's got a review, or not really a review, more of a how-to on messages. You know, I don't think a lot of people really understand how powerful messages is. You've got stickers, you've got apps, you've got the ability to draw on things. And frankly, it's something I don't use to its full extent. So Marty's going to show us about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I'm sitting next to here tonight. And then if we have time, which we probably will, I think you were talking about doing something called Voice Record Pro, doing a review.
I was. It's an app I use a lot and extremely powerful. So going to give a little bit of refresher on iMessages, some things that people may not realize you can do, take a little break with some news, and come back with an app review for tonight.
Sounds good. Like I was telling Marty, I don't think we're going to have the cat noise tonight, which is one of the reasons I came out here. But we may have bird noise in the background. And I'm just hoping that one of my neighbors doesn't decide to fire up the old lawnmower, in which case I may be chased inside. However, I am going to open up. This is a Lava Lake wheat. And I have absolutely no idea what it tastes like, but I'm going through Colorado beers right now, so I thought I'd give this one a try and enjoy a frosty one while I'm doing the show. So to start off with, I've got a couple of news items here that have been big during the last week. First is something actually from today, the public betas of iOS 11, Mac OS High Sierra, TV OS 11, and I believe Watch OS 4 are now all live. So if you're part of the public beta program, it's possible for you to go out and get into the program. So I'm just wondering, Marty, did you rush out and sign up for the beta program?
Oh, you know me. Yes, it's already on the iPad.
You are a good man.
I downloaded it. About an hour and a half ago, and got it running over here to the side on the iPad Air. We'll get it correct here in a second. As a matter of fact, I meant to grab that and hold it up, but I'll let that go for now. I'll demo it later or something. And but yeah, I wasn't going to really demo it tonight, but I've got it running on there. It looks great. I will say this, the iPad Air only has 1 gig of RAM, so I can't do some of the things I was looking forward to. No split screen. Oof. I can do the slide over. But I tell you, my first thing that I've seen I like so well is when I double-click the home button, I love the way the multitasking pane is now. Instead of overlaying in cards, it's just simple blocks. I only open about 2 or 3 things on this, so it's perfect. Looks real good. And I'll probably have some feedback in 2 weeks. Give our listeners a heads up. We won't be here next week. So,
yeah, we figured July 3rd is probably not a good time to really be thinking about doing something because people are going to be together with their families here in the U.S. It's Independence Day on the 4th. So it's kind of a long weekend for most Americans. And who knows? The British probably have a summer bank holiday weekend. It seems like they kind of time those around our holidays.
Maybe they're celebrating us. They're finally gone holiday. Maybe that's it.
That could be it. Yeah. the day we got rid of those
And
so-and-sos.
So,
But yeah, that was...
Yeah, that was the big news for me today is the public beta. I wasn't going to pay $99 to be a developer, and I'm glad I waited 3 weeks. It was worth it. So
yeah, and I think you guys got to start with beta 2, if I remember correctly.
It's not only beta 2, but there was a refresh of beta 2. They redid it. I don't know for what. I saw a bunch of news out today that beta 2 is actually refreshed. They didn't give it a new beta. They probably added the code for public or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I was really glad to see that they did that, though. And, you know, it's so funny because, you know, we always comment that it's not a good thing to put, you know, this on a production machine. You know, definitely, you know, if you're used to having a device that runs very smoothly. Uh-oh. He's run away. But if you're looking at something that's going to run very smoothly, not crash, things like that, that you probably don't want to go with a beta.
Yeah. Sorry for leaving the studio there, but I thought I'd just show how well it's running.
Well, no problem. But I was just going to bring up, you know, that's one thing that I'm really amazed with is with iOS 11 and Mac OS High Sierra, so far I haven't seen any really oddball things. They're not optimized. They're not running as fast as they possibly can. That's something that they usually do as we get into the later beta versions, but both of them seem rock solid right now.
Well, the first thing you'll notice, and I won't go to live screenshot, you'll see the even the logon, the numeric pad is filled in now. Let me enter my super secret squirrel code there. And everything looks pretty much the same. I would hook it up if I was going to do a full demo. But you can see just what I was talking about I like so well. Just double tap the home button. And I really do like, sorry for the reflection here. It just comes up with 4 panes because I had 4 apps open. And all the control center. If I was going to do a full demo, I'd hook it up. But it actually runs surprisingly well on this 1 gigabyte iPad. And so I've got it installed on here. It's only been on about an hour. So in a couple of weeks, I'll have a review or tiers. But I did a full backup to the Mac before I installed
Smart man.
it. Yeah. And so there's been times I've wanted to. It's pretty easy. If you go into iTunes, just back up, do encrypted, and then you just have to do a restore back to the stock software if you want to, or I say stock, the latest signed public regular release.
Good stuff.
So sorry to just leave a while ago. I missed a little bit of what you said, but
well, it wasn't anything important. Trust me. I was just.
Well, I wanted to get that and show our audience that it's brand new, just installed on there. It runs so far. It's very smooth for a second beta. I'm really impressed. And so,
yeah, this is one where if things keep going the way they are, by the time we get to maybe the end of July or beginning of August, somewhere around there, I'm almost tempted to put it onto my production iPhone 7 Plus, just to see how it works. But
I tell you, the one reason I don't, if it was just me, I would. But my wife has the exact same phone. She is the type, she's pretty tech savvy, but she needs it to do 2 words. Just work. That's all she wants. She doesn't want any tricks, tips, amazing things. She leaves all that for me to show her. But she wants it to just work and work reliably. And I like to be on the same release of software that she is and most of my friends, because they do tend to call me and say, oh, I need help doing this. I can look at my phone. I know exactly what software they're on. If I'm on a whole new release, I'm a little lost because it's different screens from them,
Yeah.
So I sort of need to stay on the same thing.
Well, absolutely cool. One other story this week was that, and actually once again from today, is that Apple started selling the first made in India iPhone SEs. And the sad part of it is that there was a lot of talk that perhaps the fact that they were building them in India, that they would sell them at a lower price, but that doesn't appear to be the case right now. But I do find it interesting that they are looking, are starting this production in what is really going to be probably the second largest market for iPhones after China. India is absolutely huge, kind of like China, and they're just starting to build out their 4G LTE networks in that country. So hopefully, we'll see a lot of people, if they can drop the price on those phones a little bit, maybe we'll see a lot of people on the in the country of India actually buying Apple products.
Yeah, I think so. That's such a, I don't know the population of India, but I think it's at least 1 billion people, isn't it? They're right at it. And so they've really got, like it's 3 times the population of the U.S. So really a lot of potential there. And they are a high-tech country. So, but Apple's never really made inroads. So I think this will help a lot, but they might have to lower the price a little bit.
Yeah, the government there really didn't make things very easy. Like a lot of countries, including the U.S., they really do want to bring as much production local. And as you know, Foxconn is looking at making, I think it's like a $10 billion investment in the U.S., possibly building some plants here in the U.S. And that's the type of thing you see a lot of countries doing, is they'll make these agreements. Hey, you do this for us, we will build a plant there. And, so I expect you're going to see probably more deals like that. So far, I've heard, one possibility is also Malaysia. Once again, a fairly good population base, and there's some real desire there to build up their tech industry. So we may see Foxconn and Apple both in Malaysia soon. Next quickie item, I mean, that wasn't a real big one there, but, hopefully we'll have something down the road. But the iMac Pro, turns out it may have server-grade processors and Touch ID. And we had a post on that on June 22nd. There was some discussion about what would happen, or what type of processor would be used. And there are what they refer to as Pearly Xeons. Now, it's not Pearly like P-E-A-R-L-Y, it's P-U-R-L-E-Y. These are server-grade Skylake EX and Skylake EP processors. And this came from Pike's Universium. It also looks like the iMac Pro will have a security enclave processor that's similar to what the MacBook Pro with Touch Bar has. So there's a good possibility that we'll see some sort of keyboard with Touch ID. And I got to admit, after using a Touch Bar and Touch ID, I really, really, really want to see that on desktop Macs soon.
I was going to ask if you were finding that useful or just sort of a gimmick.
I am finding it totally useful, and it's funny because sometimes, that's one thing that I never really looked at, of course, before, because I didn't have anything with Touch ID. But I'll pop open an app, and there are some that are kind of written so that they take advantage of the Touch Bar, and I find myself, it's like kind of looking down at the keyboard, and I go, whoa, this supports this. I wonder what this key does. Tap on it and see what happens. I love logging in with my finger. I think it's even faster than using my Apple Watch to do, which I use on my iMac upstairs. Yeah, well, we'll do the full review here in a minute. But man, I tell you, so far, thumbs up. Let's see, what else do we have here? Final news item. Of course, you remember that Apple and Foxconn and a couple other big companies were kind of banding together to see if they could get the winning bid for Toshiba's memory business. And they did not get it. There was a consortium that included Bain Capital, Mitsubishi, and some Japanese investors. Well, apparently Western Digital looked into who was part of that consortium, and some Japanese investors were actually getting funding from a company called SK Hynix, Hynix. And that company is based in South Korea, and it's one of Western Digital's biggest competitors. Well, interesting thing is that Toshiba is using some of Western Digital's intellectual property in their memory business, and Western Digital has actually filed an injunction to have that merger or purchase stop, because they're concerned that SK Hynix will suddenly have access to their technology. So who knows? This may end up going to whoever the real highest bidder was, because the group that won was not the biggest bidder. They just had a lot of hooks into the Japanese government, and they wanted to keep a lot of things in Japan. So that's why they won. So interesting politics.
Yeah, a lot of sort of behind the scenes Apple news is going on. So anyway, nothing too major.
Ooh, I got to turn my light up here. It looks like I'm getting dark. So let me, oh, there we go.
Yeah, this is live TV because we both have had to get up once tonight.
Well, at least we're not getting up to go to the bathroom or something like that.
I'm just glad the chair didn't fall over or something. Might get more views, but I tell you, we probably had people watching a while. And if you want, I'll give a little demo of some things of iMessaging.
Let's definitely go to the not review, but the how-to. And
most of our viewers will know this, I'm sure, and these various things. Just a little personal note. I doubt my wife's watching. She's actually in Springfield, Missouri. Her mother's in the hospital out there, and we had.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, thank you. She's doing better, but she's out there tonight, and so I told her, I said, "You're going to be getting a lot of text from me." I'm going to send her. I said, "Just ignore them." So we were going to go to the Apple store tomorrow because this is a personal note. Tomorrow we shall have been married 31 years. So. I told her, it looks like she's going to be away, though. And so I said, well, we'll just FaceTime for our anniversary. We'll do something when you return. And so a little bit personal notes you can relate to. This also marks, I think it would be August, though, 30 years I've been a licensed ham radio operator. I sort of equate that in marriage together. So, yeah, it was 86. 86 got married. 87 got my ham radio license. So.
Wow, you've been a ham radio operator longer than I have, because I got mine in, I think it might have been 1997.
Well, I was 87, so I was thinking back. I guess our anniversary being tomorrow, 31 years ago, 86, got me to thinking. We didn't have cell phones, no computers. I had a basic computer. I think I had a Commodore 64, but we've talked about that.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go on and pull up the screen here and get some sharing going on here. Let me go to share my phone. Now share that screen. As you well know, this software, I had to click on a few things, but boy, this software works so good. All right. Screen share. I guess you can now see an iPhone.
I sure can.
All right. iMessages is one of the apps I keep in my dock because I use it so much. So I'll just open it up. There's to my wife, and I told her I'm going to be sending a bunch of text. I'm doing for Apple World Day, no response necessary. I'm doing a demo. All right, everybody knows you can send, of course, hers are in blue because she's on an iPhone. If you go to an Android friend, they're in sort of a lime green. But I've been surprised at how many people do not know some of these things that you can do. One of the things right off the bat that I use a lot, especially if I need to type a lot, of course, I type and I do a lot of dictation. I don't even know if it will pick up my voice while I'm broadcasting. Well, I guess it will. So it'll, I do a lot of dictation like that. But I actually find it a lot handier if I'm going to record something just to hit the little microphone to the right. And that actually you press and hold, and I doubt it's going to do it while I broadcast because of the way that's doing 2 audio streams or something. But you press and hold that. But well, it is. I just didn't have it right. You press and hold, and it is recording my voice. You let go, and you've got 2 options here. X out of it if you don't want to send it, or hit the up arrow to send it. So my wife just got a, well, she's in, just delivered to her phone. And so I find that extremely handy. That's actually a voice recording that they can just listen to. So a lot of people do not know that's there. And I use that a lot, just to send a quick, if it's going to be sort of a complex text, I'll just talk it and send it to people. And of course, you can always do the emojis down here. Everybody knows about them, and various ones that you check. And so that's really probably nothing new for anyone, the various keyboards and the such like. A lot of people have asked me, how did you make that? We had a beautiful day here today. It was 77 degrees, but I want to type the degree symbol. Press the 0 and hold it. And look, there's the 0. Just drag and let go. There's a degree symbol. I'll send that.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
Well, good. I'm
I've
glad you watch
had a
our
problem
show.
Doing that.
Yeah. I'll just do it again here. As long as you got the numeric keypad 80 degrees, and I just like for it to look sort of professional. Press and hold, drag and let go, and you've got the degree symbol. And there's others. Experiment. Like if you're typing some of your, say, friends that speak Spanish and you want to put it inverted, question mark or exclamation mark, press and hold. Sure enough, right there it is. You select the one you want. And it's a good thing I told my wife what I was doing. She'd think I'd totally lost it after 31 years. Sure.
Well, doesn't she think that anyway?
Probably so. But if you press and hold, not everything has something, but there's languages, Eastern European, that use some things like this. And I would say just experiment, see if it has what you want. I was needing to type something that had the cents symbol as opposed to dollar. So I brought up the currency, press and hold dollar. Sure enough, cents, euro, and a lot of others I don't even know. So just press and hold, and you're presented with quite a few. Like the at symbol has nothing else, but the ampersand has. What is that? Is that a paragraph symbol? I'm not for sure.
I can't remember.
And so it looks neat anyway.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Just backslash. So press and hold to get some surprise things there.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I didn't even, because I don't use a lot of those. So a lot of people don't realize that. So I'm glad I was able to help you tonight. Now, are there any questions from our audience so far? How about you, Steve? But I'll get some more here.
Are there any questions? I'm doing good right now. So
if you'll look, there's a little arrow to the left in a reverse field there. You hit that, it's where you open up a lot of stuff that you have. Tap on that and you get 3 options. I like sending a lot of pictures in text. You can take a picture and send it, but if you hit the camera icon, you can bring up, there's some pictures I took outside today. I told you we had pretty weather that was here today.
Beautiful day today.
Cats on the porch, as you can see. And just say, I want to send this picture to my wife. I select that one. And, this was sunset a while ago. And this is our mailbox out here. So I want to send those 3 to her and say, no, I don't think I'm going to send the house. I'll just hit the little X and take it out. And I still got the 2 pictures and I can send those. So I'll just go ahead and I'll just send one of the sunset to her. So you can do that. But if it's not in my camera roll, press and hold the camera again. Whoops. Slide over to the left, and you've got the option. You can actually take a picture, reverse camera, which I won't do. You'll see. Well, but you can actually take a picture with the camera. I'll just take a picture of me and you on the screen there. And sure enough, it comes up in the text, and I'll send that to my wife. you can slide on over. And this seems a little redundant to me. I'm not for sure why Apple added this. You can access the camera from here, I guess for the full camera, everything, or you can just tell it photo library if you slide over to the left, but you don't really have to do that. So it's a good way to send pictures. Now you have two more apps. One, you can click on that. You can do some various things. You can draw. I'll just put an M for Marty and say I want to send that to my wife. When she gets it, it's going to draw. And she can hit replay and it'll show it again and things like that. You can also press and hold and it'll send a little fireball. And just, if you wonder what everything is, hit the instructions to the right. And it tells you what they are all. I want to send my wife, let's see, heartbeat. Tap and hold with 2 fingers. So I'm going to do that. Well, there you go. That's all right. So I'll send that. I'm glad I didn't accidentally send that to you. You haven't heard this yet, but I was typing a voice message to you the other day, and I don't know what I was typing. It was supposed to be like, I like that idea. And I looked at it and said, Steve, I love you. And I happened to catch it before I hit send. And I told my wife, I said, you know, Steve's a fine fellow, but I definitely want to catch that before it goes out here. And so just some neat little things. I admit I don't use these often. All right. One other one there. You see it looks like the App Store icon. This is a pretty neat one. This is where you put in apps. I've got some AccuWeather apps, but so I can send, it was beautiful sunshine today, so I want to send that to my wife. All right, that's fine. But let's say, oh, I wish I'd put the sunshine over the heart. That's one thing. You can go back and really add to a text. I want to put, oh, there's a sunshine with little hearts in the eyes. I want to put that over the heart I sent to my wife. Now that's going to show up on a text I have already sent her. It's going to overlay it. So those are what's known as stickers. You know, I really do like Monument Valley. Yeah, so they have sticker pack that's free. Let me go back to that. I just
Alto's Adventure also has sticker pack.
Let's just do the little girl here with this. I'm going to put it up here just sort of between two. And that just overlays on her screen. And these are what's known as stickers. Well, let's hit the little, if you notice at the lower left, there's 4 little dots. That opens up your library. I have Weather Channel stickers, AccuWeather. You go in, you hit the store, and if you want to purchase stickers, it shows featured ones. A lot are free. Wonder Woman stickers aren't showing a price, but a lot are the more premium stickers. You can manage yours to remove and show. Like I don't want the ESPN sticker pack. I rarely use that, so I don't have it on here. Words with Friends, I can actually include that now. And I can actually, as you see, it shows up there, add, you know, create a game from right here. Let's see what else we've got. And just, you know, you send the weather. Right now it is about 66 here, so I'm just going to send that to my wife. And so that's pretty much covers those. One of the things I haven't covered yet that a lot of people really like, and I do as well, is effects on the screen. But if I send congratulations to someone, it knows it will actually put normally the confetti. I didn't even have to do the confetti. It did that for me. But I'm going to send her.
I did not know that it would do that.
Yeah, it does that. I'm not sure if it does anything on happy birthday or not, if you don't add it. Someone's going to say, well, can you turn that off? I'm actually not sure. Let me just see. My wife's birthday was in March. So there, it sent the balloons automatically. Yeah. But let's just say I want to just send her hi. And if I want effects myself, I press and hold the right arrow. I can send them like with a slam. I'm going to do loud and just send it to my wife. After you select it, hit the arrow and there it sends it. I'm going to just send her hi again. Press and hold. Let's do this time screen effects, balloons, and you know, there's not a whole lot. Hearts. That's a good one for my wife. It just floats away there. And just sort of overlays it. But I've had a lot of people ask me, how do you do that? If you'll notice on the heart, I don't know if you can catch it on the broadcast or not. It actually, you can see, let me go over to hearts again. If you'll notice, you will see reflections of the texts within the balloon with what I had said. That is how advanced. Now look at the top of the balloon.
Oh, wow.
If you look closely while it's demoing it, you will see my happy birthday and hi to her actually reflected in that balloon.
Oh, man.
So it's not just reflecting some arbitrary text. It's reflecting what I already texted her. Little things cool. Like that. It is little things.
That's Apple, you know.
It is. They really do those things. So that's pretty much a review. I will say here, you can hit the information. I want to make sure I don't give too much information here. Let me stop screen sharing just a moment to see what this is going to show. Okay, I think we're fine. Let me go back to it here because I didn't want to give, I have some passwords typed for her and stuff. Let me go back to the screen real quick. And a lot of people, if you want to real quick, hit the little information icon at the upper right to my wife's picture name. I hit information, shows a map of where she's at, and I can quickly pick a tick. That's a fox that was in our backyard this afternoon and down behind the house. I can quickly, so whenever you type that, if you'll look at your contact, there's a little eye in the circle to the right. Tap that and you get a lot of options. That shows she's at the hospital in Springfield, Missouri. From here, I can FaceTime her, call. I can send my current location to her. I want to do that. I don't do anything else. I just tap that and there goes my map and with a pen dropped to where I'm at. I can put on do not disturb. If we were in a big conversation, I didn't want to hear someone's responses, I could just mute them. And I turn on read receipts or for individuals or not. And then I can select messages to that this is just a catalog of all texts and messages we sent. This is a good example. She'd stopped at a McDonald's in her country hometown of Arkansas, and the McDonald's there had a kiosk. You can order and pay with your phone right at the kiosk out in the lobby. So she sent me that picture. And a lot of people don't realize pictures you receive and send from the texting app are not put in your camera roll. Let's say I want to save this. I press and hold and hit more and just save image at the bottom. So it's now in my camera roll. So that's pretty much maybe a little too long, but there's a lot of things.
No, not at all. That was excellent. You know, that's one thing that, you know, is surprising is even those of us who use messages every day, you were able to teach me something that, you know, I was totally unaware of in terms of being able to get that degree symbol. I was always like, I typed out the word degrees. That is cool. But all the features that were added, you know, with the stickers and the apps, being able to do all those cool things, it just really makes it look a heck of a lot more impressive than the regular old text messages.
Well, it does. And that, I guess if there's one reason I would never leave Apple, it's probably iMessages. I really, really like that among people. Almost all my friends, all my family, basically everyone at church that had Android. Well, we were going to let them keep coming, but you know, they have pretty much gone to iPhone. Just people have, because I do a shared calendar. And we'll discuss that at another date. I love having a shared calendar among all the members. They can add events, birthdays, take them off. And I know you can do that in Android, but we had such a base of Apple users. Finally, basically everybody has come over.
Nice.
It makes it fun. We're not a large congregation, but you know, like I said, they could keep coming if they were under Android. But honestly, they could not share in all the features we were doing, the shared calendar and the messaging and the such like. So, but yeah, well, thanks for bearing with me there. I'm sure there's some things I didn't show, but I think it gives people an overview. There's a lot you can do with iMessaging.
You know, I may have to just take that section of the video and see if we can turn it into a how-to and put that out on YouTube, because that was excellent. That's a lot of things that I think a lot of people would like to know.
Well, I appreciate it. Feel free to cut that, and that would probably be a good demo there because she was expecting it. So.
Yeah.
How to.
She's going, this is great. He's sending me all sorts of messages. Well, honestly, that's how my wife and I keep in touch with each other. she's at work in a, big building and everything like that. And she's in a cube farm, as we refer to them. She doesn't want people to overhear conversations that we might be having, or things, little things you're talking about. And we started using messages, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. And it's great. During the day, she lets me know when she gets to work. If things are slow, she'll send me a message and say, whoa, big accident on C470 today. Really had things backed up. Or, she'll tell me what's going on. Sometimes I keep her entertained while she's in meetings. But it's a blast, and I don't think people appreciate it as much as they should. I can remember just, sending text messages, and they were so boring. And back in the day, when I had a little Nokia phone and you had the T9
I remember
keyboard,
it well,
where you had to, hit all the number keys to get the letters to come up. I can remember being, I was doing a local bike ride, what they call the Elephant Rock Ride. It's every June, end of May, beginning of June. And I wanted to send my wife a note saying, I'm at the halfway point or something like that. It was like, I don't know, 50-mile ride. And I sat there, forever trying to get this text message out there. Now you could just have these guys have the phone mounted on the front of the bike and do a, double tap to bring Siri up and say, hey, send a message to Barb saying I'm at the halfway point of the Elephant Rock Ride. Do you want to send it? Send it, and it'd be done.
One little tip, and I'm sure you probably know, if you're using Siri to voice type and she says, are you ready to send it? Say review. It will read it back to you.
Yeah.
And then,
in CarPlay, it actually does that by default, which I think is interesting.
That's neat. I don't use a lot. I do have somewhat. People say I've got an accent, maybe even a little bit Southern. So, well, thank you. No, I will say thank you for letting me on here. I do some online gaming, and we do a lot of voice talking. First time people meet me online, they say, "Where are you from?" I say, "Would you believe the Bronx, New York?" They said, "No, I wouldn't." I just kid them. No, I said, thank you. No, I'm actually glad that I enjoy my accent, but I just can't hear it. I can hear Dennis, though, and I guess he can hear me. And so we're not too far from each other.
I had to laugh. I can remember I think it was one of the first trips we ever took to England, and we've been there, way too many times, but one of the first trips, we were talking to this one young couple that we ran into, and we were young at the time. And the woman had this almost impossible to understand Yorkshire accent. It's a special sort of British accent that it can be very, very difficult to understand. And, but anyway, we got to talking about language and accents and things like that. And she goes, "Yes, I just love your American twang." I remember that so well. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm always glad for people to hear the accent, and I enjoy it. And, so much, well, it's just, we have a lot of colloquial terms too that we use, y'all and such like. But I think I've demoed it before. If I say y'all, Siri will type it Y''LL or Y''ALL. So she gets it.
Well, y'all, and then it's plural, all y'all.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's mainly Texas, though, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy that demo so much. We're almost at 40 minutes. Maybe I won't even get to Voice Record Pro because I feel like I'll be going downhill. I feel like that was a pinnacle of my demos tonight.
That was good. Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to.
And now I'm not going to really be showing anything, but I think quickly I'll talk about my 13-inch MacBook Pro that I ended up buying. And it was kind of funny because, as Marty and I discussed on the last episode, when I shocked him, I said, I'm buying a MacBook Pro.
I was surprised.
Well, it's funny because for the previous year and a half ahead of that, I was really trying my darndest to see if I could use an iPad Pro, a 12.9 inch, as a kind of a laptop substitute. And I tried and I tried and I tried. And there were certain things that I just found, it's like going in and you're flipping between screens to try to do copies and pastes. Things will get a little bit easier, I think, with iOS 11, but I had just had it with trying to work around some of those issues. So I said, well, what could I buy? There are MacBooks, and my biggest problem with the MacBook is not the fact that it's rather underpowered. The biggest issue I had with it is there's only one USB-C port, and it's not Thunderbolt 3 compatible. I looked at the MacBook Air and I was thinking, well, they've got Thunderbolt 2, a couple more ports there, but I've had an Air. They haven't really done it much in terms of speeding them up. Forget it. So the third choice, of course, was MacBook Pro. A little bit more than what I wanted to spend, but what I ended up doing is, I realized that about the only thing I'm really going to be using it for, other than, I guess I can use it for Zoom here, so that works out pretty good. But probably, I'm not going to be doing any major video editing. I'm not going to be, well, I may occasionally do a audio podcast on there, but that's not something that's really processor intensive. But I just wanted, something that was going to let me more easily do, writing and research and have a lot of the things that I'm used to with my big screen on the iMac. So I ended up with the 13-inch MacBook Pro. I like the small computers. And let me see if I can find my document here that has there we are. What I ended up doing, I love benchmarks. And so I have benchmark 4 on here, and I ended up running it. This is, the model is considered MacBook Pro 14,2. The processor in this one, I didn't go with an i7. It's a Intel i5 7267U that runs at 3.1 gigahertz. One processor, 2 cores, 4 threads. Only 8 gigabytes of RAM, and of course that's not expandable. But the thing that was interesting is the benchmark, which if you are familiar with benchmark, or excuse me, not benchmark, GeekMark, it is based around a score of 4,000, which is a Intel Core i7 6600U processor. And this thing actually came in at 4370. So, in some respects, it's better than an older MacBook Pro, and you're running an i7 chip. Now, the interesting thing was I took a look out here, tried to find the exact processor that I've got, and let me see if I can find this one again here, and tried comparing it with the 2016 version. Where was the 2016? Come on. 13-inch. Yeah. Interestingly enough, the same device, the late 2016 version, got a score of 3940. So they've managed over that period of time, coming up with using the Skylake processors, managed to bump that up. Or excuse me, Kaby Lake, they managed to pump up the single core score by about 400 points, or 10%. So pretty impressive there. So it seems fast. I mean, it boots up almost instantaneously. I love using the Touch ID pad to log in. I kind of mentioned that earlier. It's faster, I think, than using an Apple Watch. Of course, this was a first generation Apple Watch, but it's faster than using an Apple Watch to unlock a device. Because you can just, as the machine's booting up or whatever, you just have your finger there, and the second it comes up and says, unlock using Touch ID, you just tap and boom, you're right in. The touch bar. I thought it was going to be rather gimmicky, and I'm finding that I absolutely love it. Certain applications have been modified pretty well to bring up different items in the touch bar there. And for instance, I just brought up, what was this? Ulysses, which is a text editor that I tend to use. So looking at the touch bar from left to right, it has one button that I can tap on to kind of get the library and the sidebar out of the way. I can tap on it, it disappears, tap on it again, it comes back in. If I need to search for something, there's a search button. So I just tap on that, type in, boom. There's a button on there for emoji, so it'll bring up the emoji picker. The center of the screen, of course, is like just about any text editor or text entry that you're going to do on this device. It's going to bring up suggested words, kind of that, what you see on the iPad or iPro and iOS 10 when you're typing, and it's bringing up suggestions for the next word. Absolutely love having that feature, literally a finger's tap away from me on this device. I can be typing something and I see a long word. I'll just tap it now instead of typing the complete word because it'll try autocomplete. And then you also have the virtual escape key, which works really well. You can also bring up a set of tools, brightness, screen brightness, backlit keyboard brightness. Some of those items that would normally be in a row above the numbers show up in this. What I love is that a lot of developers are starting to put a little color in there, so you don't get just boring black and white on there. You actually get some fun color icons that will show up. About the only one you'll really see most of the time using some of the standard Apple apps is in Mail. If you've got something that's flagged or you want to flag a message, there's a bright orange flag that shows up in the touch bar that you can hit. So, it just tends to work really, really well. It's a lot more intuitive than I really thought it was going to be. Now, I'm going to bring up Keynote here because I wanted to see what it shows here. And sure enough, looking at this, right now I'm in kind of the preview mode or edit mode. And you have things like zoom to fit, skip slide. If I happen to have a slide actually chosen in the sidebar over here and I decide, I want to skip that one, all I have to do is tap a button and it's going to do that. If I happen to be showing the slideshow, guess what shows up in the touch bar? My next slides.
Oh, wow.
And I can just go in and I can tap those to go, to the next slide here. I can tap it again if I have a build. It's just absolutely cool to have that. For giving presentations, I can see where this is going to be really helpful because not only do you see the little thumbnails of each slide, but you also have a clock on there. So if you're up against a deadline, like I will be on Wednesday when I'm talking at the MacTech Pro conference, I'll be able to look at that and go, oh, wow, I've got 10 more slides and I've got 3 minutes. This is going to have to go really quickly. So all sorts of fun things that you can do with that. I can't wait to see what more developers do with the touch bar. Like I said, speed-wise, I love this thing. I did already have to go out and I purchased about $100 worth of dongles because I needed one to connect to an old, and it's not really old, but I have a Thunderbolt 2 drive, and I wanted to connect to it, and I had to buy a Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2 adapter. I also, because I'm going to be using it for this presentation on Wednesday, and I know I'll be doing other presentations, I decided I'd get the USB-C to VGA adapter. I'm just going to force myself to use VGA instead of HDMI. I did see a cool cable today, though. that somebody is selling for like $39 that you plug it in, and it basically gives you USB-C or Thunderbolt, it might be Thunderbolt 3, to HDMI 4K output. So now I've got a reason to get a 4K TV.
Yeah, well, it might as well, one thing leads to another. So do you find the touch bar, some people have said in their reviews that it would distract them from their work because they look down to press something? Are you finding the workflow pretty good?
I'm finding the workflow to be amazingly smooth. And the reason I'm saying that is, first of all, when I was using certain apps, it did not distract me because there wasn't much there. And I'm talking, some apps that I've used time and time again, and they maybe haven't added any features for Touch Bar. And so maybe all you'd, for instance, here in Zoom, basically all I'm seeing is the escape key, escape button over there, and then I have an expandable bar that I can use for, the brightness and all the other different controls that you'd normally have in that top row. So, for things like that, no, it's not really something that is bothering me all that much or distracting me. Other apps, I've looked at some of them and I've gone, well, yeah, I like the fact that they did a full array of things that I could use the touch bar for, but I really don't see anything there that, I'd go out of my way to tap on. Other apps, like I said, with Ulysses, I was thrilled to see that because I didn't even know they were supporting the touch bar. And I found a lot of things that I could use. So, now I'll be typing along and I tap, tap right there in front of me on the keyboard. So thumbs up on that.
Well, I wonder if there's a way, say you're working in, Keynote there, and if you could some way have the system assign for messages to be on the touch bar to watch for notifications and such, like make it almost like a little mini secondary screen, or does it always just have the app that's in focus?
I'm going to have to look at that because I'm looking at notifications and I don't see anything about touch bar, which is kind of sad. I wish they would add that there because that'd be a great idea. I'm just going to look at keyboard and see if there's anything here.
I'm sure they're watching this in Cupertino and we'll get right on it, more or less.
Well, here we are. Under keyboard, there's customize control strip. And some of the things that I can add down there are, things like a sleep button, screen lock button, screensaver button, show desktop, launchpad, dashboard, input sources. That's for keyboard. Dictation, screenshot, do not disturb, notification center, and Siri, mission control, some other items there. So not a tremendous number of items, but, I hope maybe that they just listen to you there and that they will add, because what a great way to get notifications.
I think they just text me about it. Well, not really. I think it's something else.
They should. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's pretty neat. I would like to, if for one show, if you've got another camera, just to give us an actual visual demo of the laptop. You can't video itself, so.
Yeah. Well, let's see. How could I do that? Yeah, I think on one of the shows, maybe next week, I'll stay inside and I'll just actually show it. I love the screen on this thing too. I've always been a fan of the 13-inch MacBook Pro. I had one of the, I think it was like a 20. Well, let's see, what year would it be? It was probably a 2013 model that I got from AOL when I was working for them. Had to give it back. But I got that thing just maxed out, as much RAM as you could get, the fastest processor. And this thing seems much, much faster than that was. I also love the screen on here. It is just,
is it 4K
beautiful.
Or 5K?
Unfortunately, neither, but it's just a
Okay.
good Retina display, and boy,
Right.
is it pretty.
I
Good
didn't think they
color.
had the 5K, but I didn't know about the 4. So
I think they ought to make it 10K,
yeah, probably will.
6.2 miles.
I think
Yeah, it could
that's
be
pretty good.
6.2
Yeah.
miles
So,
by. Okay, bad joke, bad joke.
oh, that's yeah. I look forward to seeing it. That sort of got me interested in the touch bar. I don't want to pass judgment, but I wondered if it was gimmicky. But there seems to be some really good use for it.
Well, and it's, I hate to admit it, but I honestly thought that it was going to be gimmicky. I was going to go, oh God, who
Yeah.
came up with this stupid idea? And I'm finding that it's much more useful than I thought it was going to be. One other complaint that I had heard from people who bought the 2016 model of the MacBook Pro was that they were griping about the keyboard. Said it just didn't feel right. It was hard to type quickly on it. And I know they went to the second generation scissors switch,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, on the keyboard. It took me maybe about 5 minutes to kind of get used to it and adjust my fingers to it. And now it's second nature. So thumbs up on that too.
Yeah, as you know me, I'm old timer when it comes to keyboard. I got the big mechanical, and I've had a little trouble
Yes.
with keyboards like that, but I could get used to it. And it's time back to before we totally leave iMessaging tonight. That's been one of the big pluses of having a Mac is get a message roll across the top of the screen, just hit reply and type it and go right back to it. But there's one, unless I have missed it, and it's not that I search everything to the nth degree, but I tend to dig a little bit. Of course, I can do the emoji keyboard whenever I just type iMessaging or click it on the Mac. But if one rolls across the top and I hit reply, it's text only. You can't pull up an emoji. And that's a lot of my conversation, a quick smile, or people send me thumbs up all the time. And my wife does. And the reason is because she does have an Apple Watch, and it's really quick to acknowledge a message with a thumbs up, and that says all you need, so.
That's one of my favorite things on the Apple Watches. Somebody will say something, and you can actually go in and customize those, what they call quick replies.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can also use those emoji, and the animated emoji are phenomenal. And so sometimes I'll find myself, I get something from my wife, and I'm in a situation where I can't pull out the phone and, do a lot of that. And I'll go in, you can kind of through, my favorite is the one big smiley face that goes through like an infinite number of different facial expressions, and they're all animated. So I'll pull up something that's, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think that's one of the best things that there is.
Yeah. It's fun. If you're not going to have fun with this stuff, why use it?
Yeah. Well, I do use Android quite a bit, and they have they use the same set of Unicode, but their implementation of the emojis don't look nearly as good as Apple. They're just flat. And Apple really has, reflections of they're really good detail. One of the things I wish I demoed, and I won't now, but the system can read I guess it knows what you're typing. If you send someone, what do you want to eat tonight, Chinese or Mexican? The quick replies will look at that text and put that in, say Mexican, Chinese. You don't have to type it. You just tap on it.
Yeah.
So it actually,
I love that.
We'll utilize that. So, but you're right about the emoji. We're becoming, our language is changing. I think it was Craig Federighi had commented that, kids of tomorrow are going to be speaking emoji,
Yeah, it's kind of like we're going back to hieroglyphics.
Yeah,
nowadays.
Exactly. Well, most of it, they don't realize that's how it got started, it was hieroglyphics. Yeah. But anyway, so that's pretty much my contribution tonight. And I'm a little hesitant at this point in the refresh cycle to give too much system demos, but iMessaging will probably be somewhat the same. Well, I know it is looking at iOS 11, but there'll be a few new features.
Yeah. I just, one thing I cannot wait for is just to, see the final or getting close to final versions of both High Sierra and iOS 11. because when they get to the point that they're running really smoothly and very quickly, and they've optimized them for speed, and sometimes you'll see some features that disappear, but also one thing you may see is features that weren't in the initial beta that were added a little bit later that end up being something you just go, wow, I'm glad they put this in there. So I keep hoping that one of these days we'll see something that none of us expected, and it shows up in those betas. Big thumbs up.
I probably have said this in 50% of our broadcasts, but I really want active icons, like the weather icon to change according to the conditions, and just little simple things like that. Someone made a good point on some blog I was reading, and said there's no reason not to really have an active screen, more active, icons or more active widgets, because we've got the graphic processing power of desktops just a few years ago. Not even that long, really. And there's no reason. I realize battery is probably the cause, but you could just have a toggle to enable, disable if that's a problem. And we've got processing power that we could easily have three-dimensional looking. I'm not saying we need to go back to skeuomorphic, though I liked it. I'm old-timey, but I'd love to see active icons and a lot more active widgets. Use that graphics processing power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you might, who knows? You may see something like that one of these days. God, I can't think of his name. Scott Forstall, who was with Apple. He was the guy who kind of took the fall for the Maps debacle a couple of years ago. But one of the things he brought up, apparently somebody was dumping a lot of, the skeuomorphic UI on him. And he said, no, not necessarily. He said, there were certain items that we honestly felt were better when they had that little touch of, I guess you could almost call it, virtual reality, where you had something that looked a little bit more like it's real world,
right?
And that analogy, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it. And
he said that people were just coming to smartphones, and that was the way of telling them, this is a notepad, this is a clock. Now we know. They didn't then, and they really needed that detailed drawing to help people.
Yeah, now that everybody is somewhat familiar with them, like you said, you don't need that extra little level of detail to tell somebody, this is what, a notepad, and I can probably do notes in it or something. And, it's funny because now, speaking of notepad, the fact that you're seeing this sudden move to pushing that to having a lot more power than it ever has.
Right.
Notepad in whatever the heck you call it, iOS 11, or Notes, excuse me, not Notepad, but Notes in iOS 11 and High Sierra really has some fantastic features. There are some things that are surprisingly silly that I kind of looked at and I went, I love this, and that's being able to pin a note at the top. If it's something that you need all the time, because sometimes I'll write a note and then I write 3 or 4 more notes, and this one important one all of a sudden sinks down further and further into the list. One important one is the add code that we use at the bottom of our post. I want that at the top all the time, and being able to pin that to the top is going to be a really, really nice feature.
Well,
cool
see,
stuff.
Every week I have our Zoom address in a note so I can copy and paste. It always gets bumped down. I have to look for it. So being able to pin something like that at the top is great,
Yeah.
So
stupid little improvements like that.
Yeah.
You could say it's stupid, but if it saves me, 10 seconds of not having to go find something, copy and paste and bring it in, instead I can just boom, know it's going to be there right at the top. 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, and before you know it, you've saved 5 minutes a day.
Yeah, that's right.
5 minutes a day could be, let's see, probably 16 or 1,700 minutes a year, which is, anyway.
Well, it's 1,440 minutes in a day, so you've saved a day.
Yeah, I could use another day.
Yeah, but one last thought on messages at iOS 11 and High Sierra Bray is all those wonderful things I just sent my wife will be saved in the cloud and synchronized to everything. She can see them over and over again everywhere. May have already deleted them. I don't know. But no, we both have it set up to save all of our iMessages a month or even a year because I do like to keep them with the space. And so,
me too. I like being able to kind of scroll back and look and go, oh, yeah. I sent that message.
Yeah.
That was a stupid thing to do. I always use, what's the great term for it? The self-check.
Yeah.
And what I mean there is before I ever hit the send button on any message or email, I look at it and go, am I saying this nicely? And if I'm not, why am I sending it?
Well, that's how come you did not get Steve, I love you the other day, because I did a proof and I caught it. I don't know why I typed it. So I know a lot of our readers have heard this or listeners, but a few years ago, I was trying to send my nephew happy 16th birthday from Uncle Marty and Aunt Ruby. It came out happy 16th birthday it was Uncle Marty and Henry VIII. Why on earth he got that, I'll never know. Don't even sound like it. It's the accent. So
that is one of my. I mean, seriously, that's got to be one of my favorites. It's like, where the heck did it get Henry VIII out?
I will confess, it was an Android phone at the time. It was before I went it was before I came over to the Apple Grove.
Well, we're probably going to have to call this quits for the evening, but we didn't run our intro or extra. We won't have the extra or outro tonight. I've been sitting out here this evening having a good time and enjoying a Lava Lake from Crazy Mountain Brewing Company. This is a Colorado brewery. There are like 5 million of them. There's one literally on every street corner in the state. And so far, I got to give this a thumbs up. It tastes like, oddly enough, spiced tea and beer. So, and it's actually quite good. So give it a thumbs up rating there. Pretty good. Well, we will not see you next week. Marty will not see you next week. I will not see you next week. Even our missing member of the team, Mr. Dennis Sellers, will not see you next week because we are going to be enjoying our families and our friends, and we hope that you spend the time having a good Independence Day weekend. And anything to close out with, Mr. Marty?
Well, I don't think so, but if people were interested in that as a standalone, you might cut and paste or whatever you want to do, copy and paste the iMessage demo. It might end up a standalone thing. So, yeah,
I can end up downloading a copy of this from YouTube and then most likely taking that one little centerpiece, putting some nice little titles on it and stuff, and we'll put it out as a standalone.
It'd be nice to render some video with your new Mac. See how it does. So.
Well, I'd probably do that on the big one. I could just as a test, but then I'll find myself going, why do I need this big iMac?
Yeah, exactly. But
I doubt it.
Yeah, enjoy the show, and I guess looking at the calendar, it'll be July the 10th when we'll return.
Yeah. You have any big plans for the weekend?
No, not really. We usually just pretty low key. Sometimes shoot a few fireworks in the yard and cook out over at families. Just some more or less low key stuff. Just being home and happy and full of food. That's a great celebration and a great American tradition.
Yeah, we're heading out to Moab, Utah, and that's kind of conveniently placed between Arches and Canyonlands National Parks. Spending a couple days there at it's a resort that's right on the Colorado River, a little bit northeast of Moab, and really dark out there. So I'm hoping I can take some star trail pictures with my iPhone, just to see if I can do it. And then we're heading from there down to Durango, Colorado, to ride the Durango Silverton Railroad, which is old steam trains. And we've done it before, but it is beautiful along there and just a fun way to spend a day.
Well, that sounds fun. Maybe we'll see some pictures posted.
Or maybe even live video.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Or
maybe even live 360 spherical video.
Yeah, that was great from the Amazon you did. So,
well, I'm actually, I've got it's not as high resolution. I can't use it as a 360 camera for Google Street View, but I can use it for Facebook and YouTube Live. It's called the Insta Nano 360 or something like that. I hate to say I can't remember the name of it, but it's not my primary 360 camera, but it works really, really well doing 360 live streaming. So maybe I will do that if we get a chance.
Yeah, look forward to it. So I think that's all from here, and appreciate everyone joining us.
And the sun's just about down, and the neighbors are probably going, what is that bright light in Steve's yard? So from Apple World today, it's been Marty Edwards and myself, Steve Sandy. Really appreciate you watching, and be sure to give us a like. Oh, one other thing that I need to do. Shame on me for almost forgetting. But I do have to do a little sponsor piece of information here. And our sponsor this week has been, or will be, I should say, they actually started today, and that is Postbox 5 for Mac OS and Windows. And power users, isn't it time that you really controlled your email inbox instead of having it dominate your life? Well, Postbox 5 for Mac OS and Windows is what you need. It's got a full toolbox of features designed to help you master your email, and Postbox can help you organize, prioritize, and altogether streamline your email workflow. Postbox is this week's sponsor of Apple World Today. We invite our readers to discover the power of Postbox at postbox-inc.com. Thanks, everybody, and we shall see you next week. Or no,